Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining. I am going to give it just a few seconds while the rest of the gang comes in, and then we'll get started. Okay, I'm going to kick us off. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Hey, friends, we're going to be talking about attention, the new currency. Let's imagine something together for a moment. Picture this: your attention as water in a desert. There's not much of it, right? It's very rare, it's precious. And whatever you pour it on is the only place that anything will grow. If you pour it on distractions like endless scrolling or busy work, the weeds will grow. Yet, if you pour it on your goals, your dreams, your work, or the people that you care about, they thrive. Now imagine your attention as a bank account. Every morning you wake up, we wake up with a limited number of attention dollars, so to speak. And throughout the day, every meeting, every decision, and every notification is really a withdrawal from that bank account. If you spend them on things that don't matter, you'll have nothing left for what really matters. That's why attention has become the new currency. In today's world where distractions are endless, what you choose to focus on decides really what kind of life you build. Let me repeat that because this is a big takeaway from today. In today's world where distractions are endless, what you choose to focus on decides what kind of life you build. If you focus on negative, that's what you're going to find. If you focus on positive, that's what you're going to find. It is a lot more complicated than that. I'm oversimplifying for effect, but trust me on this so far. And here's the cool part. Our brains are trainable. Neuroscience calls this ability of our brains to be able to be trained as neuroplasticity. You may have heard about it, meaning you can manage, you can strengthen your attention like a muscle. The more intentionality and clarity you use it with, the stronger it becomes. So, if I give you an example, if you invest in a day 4 or 5 hours doom scrolling because you're bored or because you're frustrated or because you're not feeling the traction that you may have wanted while looking for a job, then that is exactly what you're going to become. You're just going to become more of that, more of the same. If on the contrary you focus on, I'm going to pay attention and work and do focus and deliberate work on a particular area, like reaching out to people or making sure that my LinkedIn profile is perfectly well orchestrated, that I know how to introduce myself, etc., then that is what you're going to be able to become. So here is a big paradox around this. We're literally working in the most connected era in human history, the most connected era. Yet, our ability to truly focus has never been more under siege, under challenge, etc. Thriving in our current reality, guys, isn't about really doing more, it's about choosing less. This is another big takeaway from today. In order to thrive in our current reality, it's really not about doing more. It's about choosing less with deeper focus and deeper intention. Choose where your attention goes with that intentionality as you would how you invest your money or how you would invest your energy. I'm Anna Smith, and I'm known as the mindset architect. Like many high achiever or high achieving leaders like yourselves, I literally once and for many years equated being very busy as being very successful for many, many years until I realized that I was burning through my most precious resource, my attention. And it was until then that I really started to shift my reality, as said before. Now, what I do is I help entrepreneurs, I help professionals, I help leaders at top organizations, medium sized, small size, it really doesn't matter, to reclaim their focus, to rewire their minds, and to redesign how they really want to work without burning out. All of these, my background is neuroscience and adult learning. And therefore, and of course, I'm an organizational psychologist. So I really show leaders how to transform their attention from being that liability into their greatest competitive advantage. So let's make this real. Thank you for listening. And let's look into your own worlds, into your teams, your daily routines, your mental loads, what questions you may have. And I would love to open it up now to what is really on your mind. And when it comes to protecting your attention and thriving in this distracted world, what are some of those burning ideas or topics or things that you may have? And I would love to explore them together. So I'm all ears for that. So one of the questions that um, we have available is here in the chat is how do you recover from how do I recover my attention after burnout or long distraction cycles? This is such an important question because if we don't have a plan, thank you for that. If we don't have a plan on how we're going to do this, or we don't build a routine or a formula on how we're going to tackle this, what's going to happen is that we're going to continue burning and burning and burning out. So, one of the ways to do this very, very practically is schedule time and and do the focus work. So, for example, look at your calendar, look at what your energy is every day, and think about. For most of us, it's mornings, but there's night owls and people who are very, very highly energized at the latter part of the day, or even at night. What are some of those blocks of time where you are most productive and most energized? So let's say in my particular case, I love to do focus work first thing in the morning. So from 7 to 8:30, so 90-minute blocks, those 90-minute blocks that I schedule religiously in my calendar. Um, that's where I really focus. I put my mobile outside of my office. I focus 100% on whatever it is that I need to do, and I have that very clear. Okay, so that's one very specific preparation into distraction cycles. And then here comes the bonus and the super key. Then I take 15 to 20 minutes breaks after deep focus of work. This brings another a renovated cycle to our brain. We operate and our brain operates in cycles of 90 minutes optimally, so we can go up to that. Our brains are not meant and we're not machines, so we're not meant to work for hours at a time. So when we did those sprints of study at night, and then the next day we expected to pass the exam. Hopefully we did. Guess what? The memory is no longer there because we're burning through energy that is really on low. Okay, our brains don't operate well like that. So thank you. That's a very important question. We need to be very, very mindful of that. What other questions? What other questions do you have available? I have a lot of tips for you, but I want to make sure that you guys have an opportunity to ask questions. I can tell you this while you think about. Oh, perfect. While you think about the next question, and this is, many companies, Facebook, Google, you name it, many of the large technology companies hire people like myself, organizational psychologists. So our focus is on really understanding human behavior in organizations. And the intention with this is to really grab those psychological triggers and psychological knowledge on how they build the platform so that we become addicted to them. This is just a nugget for you. If you knew it or don't, that is really how things are done. That's why we doom scroll and get attached to things, because the platforms are designed for us to get addicted and stay there. So just be mindful of this. Technology is meant for us to use it, not for not for technology to use us. So this is an amazing question. How can I protect my attention while job hunting? I would very much define a plan, build a strategy, rather than do a shotgun approach with your attention, and try. I'm going to call Joe today and Patty and Susie, and then I'm going to apply to 30 jobs. And then I am going to look at my resume again and see what I can do with that. And then I'm going to look at my LinkedIn. That is a shotgun approach to how you can optimize your attention. So we're going to do exactly the opposite. Remember what I talked a few minutes ago around time blocking and making sure that you are laser focused on that. Um, there's a beautiful anecdote from, I'm sure there's many anecdotes, but one that I love from Warren Buffett about somebody that asked him, how can I really become as good as you in terms of your focus work, your discipline, your rigor? I find it very, very difficult, and I get distracted easily with so many things to do these days. Well, his recommendation very specifically went to goals in this particular example, but it applies very well to job hunting. So what are the goals that you have around job hunting? So make a list. In his case, in Warren Buffett's case, it was, okay, write down the 25 goals that you have in order of appearance. Okay, that's the first thing to do. So let's say that we have 25 goals to achieve for job hunting journey. Now the next step is identify what are the top five. Okay, so that's what this particular individual did. Identify the five, and then he said the other 20 discard. Okay, don't think about them, don't pay attention to them, focus on these five and squeeze them and make them work for you at the most. Okay, the most for you. So the most important thing here, guys, is focused work, deep work. If not, you're going to apply this shotgun approach, and guess what, you're not going to be able to achieve what you want to achieve. And guess what, how we're going to feel, we're going to feel very, very, very frustrated. Okay, so thank you for that. That was a very important question, and happy to answer any other questions that we may have. So um, we have here, so listening to you, it feels like, thank you so much. We're being told that it is important to create and post on LinkedIn. It seems that this is based on a quantity as opposed to quality. I find that I am distracted by all of the cacophony of postings out there. Lori, this is such an important point. Why? Because this is exactly what happens. If we are not focused on a particular topic or a particular area or what we want to convey or address or learn about, we're basically the postings are going to drive the outcome for us, and the outcome may be, oh my goodness, I already lost 2 hours and I don't even know what I did. uh, I'm not even interested in aeronautics, and I have in in my postings now I have aerospace engineers postings. Why is this going on? So one of the things is turn it around for you. And Work It Daily has such an amazing formulation for driving the journey for each and every one of the participants, every one of you. There's a strategy that has to be followed. So yes, the posting is correct. The trick is how much do you want to follow others? And this is, let's say, Lori, that you decide that you're going to post and read 1 hour a day. Set that time, and let's say that it's going to be 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. or 4 to 5 or whatever time it is, but set it religiously. The trick for you, the value for you, is going to come from the work that you do around your postings, not around the postings necessarily that you're going to be reading. That is going to be the second value, and you will have to start to extract. But the first thing for each one of us is to make sure that we're posting at the pace of our strategy, and that we're very religious on how we do it. If you post 3 times a day from 4 to 5 p.m., that's what you do. Okay, hopefully that's useful for you, Lori. Thank you so much for the question. And so one other aspect that we have here. uh, so listening to you, thank you. It feels like my last two employers have abused me regarding my attention capacity. If organizations are aware of this, why is it not implemented? Why is it not taught to employees to help them thrive and succeed in their jobs? Adriana, wow, this is the $1 million question. um, Work was created. We're utilizing a work formula still in 2025, that we created in the late 1800s, and we haven't really optimized for that. There is a reason why we work 5 days a week and not three or not six. And it all boils down to this particular formulation that was established, when we entered into the industrial age. Organizations that care about well-being as a holistic solution are paying attention to this. I can guarantee you that, because I have the pleasure and the honor to work with them, because they do care. The numbers around burnout, around turnover, around lack of outcomes, frustration, um, uh, I'm gonna call it I'm gonna call it micromanagement, etc. As we start to do the research with them, it all brings, for the most part, it all boils down to this particular area. People think that screen time is the same as outcomes, and it's not. So in summary for this, I would say, you have to become the role model for your organization. So for example, for your team in this case. So for example, one of the ways in which I coach some of the folks that I do around this particular is, um, talk to your manager about, what outcomes you need to provide this particular month or quarter or whatever. Make sure that expectations are aligned, there's agreement, etc. And then talk about how you are going to start to utilize deep work as part of this. Deep work is not new. It's been around for at least a good 10 years. So unless you have been under a rock, you have not heard of it. But most importantly, this is how I'm going to be working. I'm going to be producing the outcomes as expected. I'm going to be, producing quality. I'm going to be doing this. But I am, for example, someone that I'm working with has a huge issue with the spread or the lack of boundary setting from their manager. So it's the typical Saturday at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And oh, by the way, my boss expects me to respond to him on Saturday, right? It doesn't really matter that it's the weekend. So as part of these conversations with your manager, there's three things that I am going to recommend for me to be really exemplar at my job. um, I need to, after 5 p.m. on Fridays, unless the company's on fire, I am not going to answer any emails because I also need to rest. I also need to break. I also have other things in my family. You will find the best way to define or decide that. So that would be one. Setting boundaries is very important, whether it's with emails, whether it's after hours work, etc. Because you should be aiming for working for outcomes, not for hours or screen time. Okay. And the second piece, of course, is, for yourself, start to work in blocks of time where you're really focused on generating outcomes. Avoid distractions. Go to a place where you're gonna hopefully not have that many interruptions, and you're gonna see how you're gonna start to see important changes in you. And hopefully, this is very useful. The other big thing and the underlying thing as well in attention, and I mean, we're a system, right? We're not blocks, or separate entities, one from another. And what I mean by that is our attention is related to our well-being. Our well-being is related to our sleep. Our sleep is related to what we eat, etc. So we need to mind different things. But thinking about attention, one of the important things is when you go to, this is connects to the original question on burnout. um, when you go to bed at night, leave your phone outside your bedroom. I know it's difficult, and you're going to say, oh, but I use it as my alarm clock. Guess what, guys? At Walmart, at Amazon, they sell alarm clocks as well. So you don't need your mobile inside your bedroom. So leave it outside, because it is going to, it's a distraction. Even when you're asleep, you know that your phone is there, and there's pings, there's notifications, there's a bunch of things that go on in the phone that subconsciously you're receiving, and therefore you're not sleeping as deep as you should. So that's one. Watch your sleep, as much as you can. 1 hour before bedtime. um, don't use any screens. Read a book. Have a nice conversation, what have you. Meditate. Have a tea outside in your balcony or in your garden, etc. The idea is not to have any of the rays that screens provide for us, but hopefully that's also useful. So mind your sleep as well, guys. Thank you. Let's see, anything else that you guys may have in your minds. And one thing that, okay, perfect. So how can I sustain attention? And if we have time, I'll talk a little bit about multitasking, because that's a very common common challenge in the attention space. So how can I sustain attention while starting something new? So one of the things that the way in which you're going to start something new, it may be by brainstorm. Let's say that it's a new project, or it's a new, you're going to start to look for a job, for example, or you're thinking about looking for a job. So you have to build a plan, schedule time in order to do that without distractions, without your phone next to you. It's not a chat GPT situation. This is a, what do I want for myself? And if I follow this example, guys, about maybe I'm thinking about looking for a job, I think I want a career change, etc. One of the um, recommendations that I always provide, especially in these very very interesting crossroads, is think about your ikigai. And some of you may be familiar with this concept, this Japanese concept, which has been used for hundreds of years. But the important thing about it is what it really brings. It's what gives you meaning, and each and every one of us has different things. And if you were to look up what ikigai is, you're gonna find all the specifics. But it's basically, it it lies and it lives at the center of our passion, our vocation, what the world needs, and how I can make money. So that's where our ikigai resides. So if you use that as a starter, for example, what am I really passionate about? What strengths do I have? What are the things that really give me energy? Because it's an opportunity, guys. It's a challenge for sure, but it's a fantastic opportunity for you guys to look at, okay, if I'm going to change jobs, or I'm going to launch myself into becoming an entrepreneur, for example, or a solopreneur, then start with this clarity of what really gives you meaning. The reason for this is, whatever you end up doing, it really doesn't matter. It's really going to become the fuel, and very much the how success for yourself is going to be enriched. If you do something that you're not passionate about, and we all have done things that we're not passionate about, it becomes really really difficult. We have to use a lot of energy, a lot of brain power, and other things. So think about it that way. So I would start absolutely there, and that helps us focus lace focus and laser our attention towards these new endeavors, whichever this may be. And I know we have a minute or so. Just want to make sure and mention something around multitasking, which is something that, for the longest time, believe me, I thought I was the queen of multitasking. I was really good at maneuvering my career, my children, my husband, my parents, everything, right? My family, friends, etc. Well, guess what, guys? Multitasking is really a myth. It really doesn't exist. There's If you look at the total population in the world, there's very few people who could actually do this, because our brain, what it really does when you are multitasking, we're multitasking. What the brain does is, we're switching from one task to the next at a very very fast pace. Guess what? All of that changing consumes, remember what I told you at the beginning, that attention is like a bank account. It subtracts from our bank account of attention. So it is very very interesting, because we have been trained incorrectly. It's a habit that incorrectly we have acquired because of technology. I don't know it was intended to do that, but that's how we try it and figure it out. But I just wanted to make sure and provide that for you guys. I see that. So, Harrison, any company solutions to people being on their phones, multitasking while in meetings? Oh, Harrison, this is a beautiful question. Some employers have such a fast pace, they expect you to be emailing while in meetings. Yes. So, there's a couple of interesting takeaways here. One is if you're multitasking, you're probably prone, because we obviously do this throughout the day and continue to do it, etc. We continue to subtract and extract from our bank. Our brain starts to become more and more tired. There's cognitive overload, etc. There's a lot going on in the brain. Our brains are amazing, but they are lazy in that the number one task of the brain is to keep us alive. It's survival. So nothing multitasking doesn't have to do with that at all, and therefore it just subtracts. So my point here is that, oh my goodness, I'll, I'm so sorry. I'm in a lone space and we have that. Okay, so sorry about that. So let me just finish the comment here. One of the ways, in from a multi tasking perspective, inside meetings, is rules of engagement. So, for example, big things to think about meetings. One is set up rules of engagement for meetings. You're going to see how quickly things start to, the famous meeting of Thursdays at 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. You're going to see that it's going to disappear, because if you ask, as part of the rules of engagement, if you ask for agendas, there needs to be an agenda for every single meeting. That's number one. Number two, there needs to be action items that are extracted from the previous meeting into the meeting at hand, on what needed to have been achieved, so that there's a continuation and really meetings fulfill their purpose. So anything that has to do with rules of engagement, please push for that. The second bit is this, which refers to multitasking and phones. Make an experiment with the party at hand. Let's have a meeting without phones, guys, and let's see how this goes. Everybody leaves their phone outside the meeting room in a little box. It's gonna be it's gonna be almost like withdrawal, like a withdrawal syndrome as they paint it in pictures and stuff. It's gonna be tough because our mobiles have become an extension of ourselves. By the same token, guess what's gonna happen with our attention? Because we don't have to pay attention. And of course, only the people that need to be presenting or anything like that have their computers, because if we have the computer, the phone, and now we take out the phone but we keep the computer inside, then we're defeating the purpose. So if you really want the best creativity and the best of your people, try that. Try meetings without phones and see how that goes. Limit them, limit the time. Another big thing, for example, for rules of engagement, Harrison and team, is let's have meetings that are 50 minutes. So agenda, outcomes from the last one that vert into this one if we have a concurrent one. Phones outside or set on a table, or far away from the meeting per se. And lastly, why do we have the people that we have in this meeting? Do we really need everybody here, or is it just a continuation? The more you revise those rules of engagement, the more valuable the meeting is going to become. I do one exercise that is painful but super powerful with my clients. And what I do is we're going to do a costing evaluation, a costing of what this meeting is worth. Okay. And we're going to see, okay, this meeting, because of the people that we have here, um, is costing us, I don't know, $40,000. Do we really need to have it? And very many times it's going to be yes, we need to have it. Very many times it's going to be what? $40,000. What? Um, so it depends on what you how can you approach all of these different things. But I want to thank you all. Thank you for the time. I know that if there are any additional questions, you can connect with me certainly on LinkedIn or on Subs. And very happy to continue the conversation, answer any questions. And I really have to congratulate you and give you kudos on working and being part of the Work It Daily program, from the perspective that already speaks to me that you're already very interested in certainly your journey, but you already have identified a way to focus your attention. It's a great way to do so. Thank you guys very, very much. All the best.